You're listening to the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Let's have a look at India and their performance in this ICC Cricket World Cup for 2023 and talk about their campaign and how they performed throughout this World Cup. For India, they'll be disappointed, India. They couldn't get it done in the final after a dominant performance in the group stage and in the semi-final against New Zealand. They weren't able to get it done in the final. And they'll be bitterly disappointed, India, because they played some outstanding cricket in this whole tournament. They were dominant. Their batting was strong. The bowling was strong. The fielding was good. Rohit Sharma led from the front very well. Unfortunately, in the game that mattered the most, which was the final, unfortunately, Australia outplayed them, and they did. They really did. India had no answers to handle the pressure, the relentless pressure from Australia with the bat, with the ball, and in the field. And they fell short by 6 wickets. So, yeah, disappointing for India. Home World Cup. Everyone had expectations that India could do it again like they did in 2011, but it wasn't to be. But let's talk about their performance overall in this tournament. For India, they finished up as runners-up in this World Cup. That was their result from this tournament. In the group stage, they won 9 games from 9, didn't lose a single game at all. They were undefeated. Leading run scorer was Virat Kohli with 765 runs. Leading wicket taker was Mohammad Shami with 24 wickets for the tournament. Let's have a look at India's results in the group stage and in the semi-final and in the final. Well, Australia was their first game, India, and they won that game by 6 wickets to kick off the tournament off a good note. Then they won against Afghanistan by 8 wickets. They won against Pakistan by 7 wickets. They won against Bangladesh by 7 wickets. They won against New Zealand by 4 wickets. They defeated England by 100 runs. They defeated Sri Lanka by 302 runs. They defeated South Africa by 243 runs, the other informed team of this tournament. And in the last game of the group stage, they defeated the Netherlands by 160 runs. In the first semi-final, they defeated New Zealand by 70 runs. And in the final of the World Cup against Australia, they lost by 6 wickets. And that was the game that India didn't win, didn't quite get the job done on that occasion. So that's how India performed in this World Cup. As I said, they should be proud of their efforts, India. But the same problem that's always plagued India is how do we do well in knockout matches? And it's another World Cup that they've fallen short. And yet again, people have started to question what they've done to improve that sort of side of their game. It's sort of a mental barrier, really. Nothing to do with the skills, nothing to do with the talent. It's just more with the mental side of the game that they've struggled with in knockout matches, and they've fallen short, and that's what's happened. So they're bitterly disappointed. You can see after the final, when they lost that game against Australia, you could see they were bitterly disappointed, as you will be when you lose a final of a World Cup. You'll be very disappointed. Their fans were disappointed as well. At the end of the day, it's only a game of cricket. There's got to be a winner and a loser, and unfortunately, India were on the losing side. Australia played very well. You can't take that away from Australia. They played really good cricket in the final, and they just know how to win World Cups, whereas India, they struggle with that. They struggle with dealing with that sort of pressure, and I think that just came down to it. The pressure, the relentless pressure from Australia's bowlers and fielding, and the batting of Travis Head and Marnus Labuschagne in that partnership just pretty much put India on the back foot, really, in that final. But they had such a good tournament. You know, to win 10 games on the trot, unfortunately lost the final, but to win 10 games in a home World Cup, dealing with that sort of pressure and expectation on the entire nation, it's such a big country, India. There's a lot of weight, a lot of pressure on your shoulders when you play for India. But I think the players handled that well, up until the final, where it sort of went downhill. As I said, they should be proud of their efforts, you know. You have a look at their batting, you have a look at their bowling. It was just dominant. Virat Kohli, you know, what a World Cup he had. The player of the tournament, 765 runs, the most runs in the tournament. Rohit Sharma, 597 runs. Shreyas Iyer, 530. KL Rahul, 452. Shubman Gill, He didn't even play at the start of the tournament, and he scored 350 runs. Just shows how strong their batting was. And their bowling. Their bowling was top-notch. It was high quality. Mohammad Shami, leading wicket taker for the tournament, 24 wickets. Then you had Bumrah with 20, Jadeja and Kuldeep Yadav with 16 and 15 wickets respectively. And then you had Mohammad Siraj with 14. That was pretty much the bowling attack for India throughout this whole campaign. And they bowled really well. They kept it simple. They just bowled a good line and length as you would in Test cricket. And Mohammad Shami was the standout. So, you know, their batting and bowling was dominant. Their fielding was good. Rohit Sharma led the team well in terms of his leadership. Even though they didn't get it done in the final, I think India should be very proud of their efforts in this tournament. Because they played some outstanding cricket. They just, at the end of the day, the last hurdle, they couldn't get over that hurdle, and Australia were just too good. So I think for India, looking back on this tournament, they'll be disappointed, but they should be happy about their efforts in terms, yeah, we achieved a lot as a team. You know, some individual achievements. Virat Kohli, for example, scoring 50 ODI hundreds. You know, going past Sachin Tendulkar's record in front of Sachin Tendulkar in the semi-final against New Zealand in Mumbai. That was a historical moment, which many of the Indian team and probably even Sachin Tendulkar himself will probably remember for a long time. The day that Virat Kohli broke the record for the most ODI hundreds. So they've achieved a lot in this World Cup, India. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get it done. So for India, overall, their tournament was pretty good. They dominated. It was their World Cup to win. They were the team to beat. Going into the final against Australia, everyone thought it was going to be India's to win. But it didn't happen. Australia were just too good. They know how to win World Cups. They know how to get the job done. And unfortunately for India, the wait for an ICC Cricket World Cup continues. But they are capable. They are capable. They've got such a good talent pool of players that they can rely on. So no doubt India will be back at the business end of the tournament in 4 years' time. They'll definitely contest for the next World Cup. It's just a matter of time before they win one. You know, they've got a good side. It's just about trying to get better in those pressure moments. If they do that, then they're more than capable of winning a World Cup or two in the next few years. But to finish off about India, they'll be pretty proud of their efforts, but they'll be disappointed at the same time that in the game that mattered the most in the final against Australia, they just weren't good enough and they just couldn't get the job done to claim another World Cup title. Thanks to everyone who tuned into our ICC Cricket World Cup 2023 coverage over these last few weeks. It's been great fun, and hope you enjoyed it as much as we have bringing it to you. If you're watching or listening to this episode of the podcast on our YouTube channel, let us know in the comments your thoughts on India's ICC Cricket World Cup 2023 campaign. We would love to hear what you have to say.